my potential, but I needed a compassionate teacher who would respond to my needs, not react to my behaviors. Those 7 years of special education nearly broke me. I had to fight my way through low teacher expectations, unwanted labels, and stigmatization on a daily basis. When I refused to let them take me, when they refused to let me take a foreign language class, I bucked the system and took it anyway. When they refused to place me in advanced English, I bucked the system and took it anyway. When the school took the gifted and talented students to Kings and Many for Math and Science Day, I bucked the system and went anyway. I was the inspiration behind No Child Left Behind. See, my resilience had made me unbreakable. My struggles had become my strength. I was bent, but never broken. Shaken, but never stirred. I succeeded not in spite of my learning disability, but because of it. Adversity and struggle molded me into the man I am today. I became the tree that grows in dry lands, extending its roots 30 feet deep into the earth in search of water. A tree that can withstand hurricane-force winds, winds that would uproot most trees from the ground. I was a tree that was firmly rooted in resilience, self-efficacy, and self-determination. When I graduated high school in 2001, I walked off the stage with the biggest chip on my shoulder. I had to show them that I wasn't learning disabled. When I enrolled in college, I didn't tell them that I had an IEP. I wanted to do it on my own, and I did. After 1 year of community college, I went to Ronnie. Shout out to Ronnie. I applied to Old Dominion University right here in Norfolk. I wanted to attend ODU because I'd be challenged academically, and I wanted to stay in the co-ed norms. And they didn't even market it, I don't know why. So at ODU, I found my voice through spoken word. I was in an organization called Minds About Progress, and we used to put on an open mic called Etymology twice a month in BAL 102. And we used to have a crowd, sometimes this big, and I host it, and I'd be on stage, and I have to write poems because sometimes people didn't show up till 2 hours later. So I had to fill the time with my poetry, so it really gave me the opportunity to write my story, to tell my story, and feel comfortable telling my story. I didn't tell anyone I was in special ed until I was about 19 years old. My friends didn't even know. I hid it from them. I didn't talk to anyone about it. I didn't even talk to my parents about it. So it really gave me that chance to really have my voice and to share my story. And also, I used the platform of public speaking and writing, created a program called Creative Medicine Healing Through Words. And I did it at a prison because prisoners, many of them were in foster care. Many of them have been abused, many of them experienced so much trauma, and many of them had a voice that wasn't heard, a voice that wasn't listened to. So I wanted to create a safe place where they can share their voice, a safe place where they can talk about some of their trauma, talk about some of their vulnerability, in a room of people who experienced it and could give them some feedback. And the groups became so good at Northern Neck Regional Jail, I just felt like I was just sitting there. And I was just sitting in a maze, just to see the level of writing. Guys who didn't graduate from high school, guys who dropped out of high school in 8th grade, guys who the system had all but given up on. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me. But when I talk about resilience, I wouldn't have made it through this storm if it wasn't for my parents. Two of the hardest working people that I know. Matter of fact, my parents are in their 60s and both of them still working full-time to this day. My mother, born and raised in Tappahannock, Virginia, started off as a nurse's aide and worked her way up to be the director of her floor. When the nursing home had closed, she started working at Northern Neck Regional Jail while I was doing the group act. So some of the guys knew that was my mom. They were like, man, I love your mom. I never let nobody hear her. So I felt comfortable that the guys in my group were looking out for my mom because you never know what happened in the jail. My father, he was a state police officer who drove an hour to work and from work every day to provide for his family. My father was also a Baptist minister, a pillar in the community, and he presided over a church in Warsaw, Virginia for over 20 years. My aunt used to say that my father had a gun in one hand and a Bible in the other. And I must admit, being a preaching kid came with a lot of expectations. And the expectation that you would be in church at least twice a week. And in speaking about church, I wanted to take a moment and just say the names of the victims of the Charleston shooting. Just watching TV, I hear a lot about the shooter, but I wanted to share the names of those victims and honor them today. Susie Jackson, Sharonda Coleman Singleton, DePayne Doctor, Ethel Lance, Daniel Simmons, Clementa Fickney, Cynthia Hurd, and Tawanza Sanders. When I talk about resilience, the church was the cornerstone of my resilience and optimism. My parents instilled morals, ethics, and values in me and my sister at a very young age. I remember how frustrated they would get when teachers would send notes home or call home saying that I was acting up in class. I remember one day I acted up so bad that the teacher called home before I even got off the school bus. My dad intercepted the call. He called me back into my parents' bedroom and we held hands and prayed. I was like, okay, I'm good, I'm off the hook, we prayed. Hey, thank you, Lord, right? So I thought I had gotten off easy until he pulled off that belt and commenced to spanking my behind. But I understand now that it came from a place of love and good intentions. He didn't graduate from high school, and he wanted me to. He grew up in the era of Jim Crow, an era where African Americans weren't afforded the same opportunities and protections as whites. He and my mother knew my potential, and it pained them to see me not applying it. I never would have made it without this woman sitting right here with me today. And last time I talked about her, I cried, so I'm going to try not to cry. A few months ago, I prepared a presentation for an Association of Black Social Workers Educational Symposium. I went back and looked through my old IEPs and report cards. It's crazy because I was doing research on myself. I had a paper at ODU, and I knew I was in special ed. I just didn't know the depth of it. Because when I was in school, when you're experiencing it, you really just get caught up in it. You don't really think about it. But I went back, and they had like the stack of papers this big from the school board. My IEP, so I had a tremendous wealth of knowledge to do some research on myself with. So I appreciate the school board for saving all that information. When I look back at my old report cards and IEPs, I only found a few favorable comments about me. And one of them was from Miss Toby. Miss Toby was my special education teacher in 6th and 7th grade. Her comment, one of two good comments on my report card, said, "The student is trying very hard. Encourage your child to write down, study, and written homework assignments in a small tablet." It was the only comment that alluded to how hard I was working. The other comments read, "The student is not working up to potential," and "The student does not seem to have a serious attitude about school." It made me think about why was I so different in Miss Toby's class? Then I remembered how she made me feel. Even though it was special education, I never felt slow or stigmatized. In her classroom, I felt that my life mattered. I felt that she was truly invested in me. With that said, every champion needs a champion. I'm saying it again. Every champion needs a champion. I was lucky to have 3. I had 3 people who believed in me at a time when I didn't believe in myself. I had 3 people who stayed the course because they knew what I was capable of and wanted to help see me through. Because of them, I didn't become another statistic. Because of them, I became the one who made it. And I feel obligated to use my voice and speak out against the disparities that exist in our education system. Black males are overrepresented in special education, and underrepresented in honors programs.
Yes, yes.
9% of the public school population is made up of African American males. Yet, only 4% are in honors programs compared to 20% in special education programs. Black and Hispanic students with disabilities face much higher rates of school disciplinary action, dropout rates, and experience lower rates of graduation. We must address this achievement gap that continues to divide African American and Hispanic students from their white and Asian peers. There's a photo circulating on social media that reads, "What if the cure of cancer is trapped inside the mind of someone who can't afford an education?" What if that 14-year-old, how many of you are from Norfolk? Okay, so if you're from Norfolk, you all know what Park Place is. And Park Place is one of the most impoverished parts of the city. So I asked myself, what if the 14-year-old living in Park Place who got into a fight in school, was charged with a felony assault, expelled from school, and then sent to a juvenile detention center, had the cure of cancer trapped inside of his mind, but had never had the opportunity to express it. And speaking about incarceration, the best graduation I've ever been to in my life, and I promise you this, was the one I went to at Haynesville Correctional Center for the offenders there. Some of these guys were 70 years old, just getting a GED. And these guys worked extremely, extremely hard to get it. It was guys that graduated from the barbering program, guys that graduated from the electrical program, and they allowed them to wear the cap and gowns, and they walked up and got their, diplomas and certificates, and they didn't want to smile, but you can just see how exuberant and how happy and how much they feel like they've achieved. And I just wanted to honor that because the Department of Corrections, I wasn't the biggest fan of prisons, and I'm not the biggest fan of prisons, but the Virginia Department of Corrections is doing some amazing work under the direction of Director Clark. He didn't pay me to say this. I'm saying this because I truly mean it, and I've truly seen what was going on with the reentry program and what some of the skills these guys were getting. They brought some barbers back to the prison who are making more money than me right now, who had their resilience to start their own businesses, who took the skills and used their time in prison to get a trade, and now they're out there employing other offenders, and we need to support those men and women also. But the education and welfare of our black and brown boys is not a black and white issue. It's a human issue. It's an issue that we must address now, or else we will lose another generation of black and brown boys to prisons and graveyards. I got a suggestion. I suggest that we all sit down at a table much bigger than these two right here. Not as the Secretary of Education or the President of Faces, but as concerned citizens, parents, and advocates. At this big table, we'll put on our thinking caps and practice Ujima, collective work and responsibility. By practicing Ojima, we make our most vulnerable boys and girls problems our problems and solve those problems together. In closing, I want to share a poem that was written, author and title called Growing Good Corn. There was once a farmer who grew award-winning corn. Each year he entered his corn into the state fair and won a blue ribbon. One year a newspaper reporter interviewed him and learned something interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his corn with his neighbors. How can you afford to share your best seed corn with your neighbors when you are entering corn in competition with yours each year? The reporter asked. Why, sir, said the farmer. Didn't you know? The wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn and swirls it from field to field. If my neighbors grow inferior corn, cross-pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors to grow good corn. The farmer is very much aware of the connectedness of life. His corn cannot improve unless his neighbor's corn also improves. There's a Bantu term for this concept called Ubuntu, which translates to human kindness or humanity towards others.